stick to these looks. I'm probably gonna do at least a look on the Senate map on the 1st and 15th of every month, just for updates on the map. I'm obviously probably gonna have videos discussing the 2022 Senate in between then, but that's probably going to be the bare minimum. So we're going to John Ossoff's seat, that's not going to be up until 2026. And now for the state Republican states: Utah, Idaho, the Dakotas, Kansas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas, Missouri, Iowa, Kentucky, Indiana, Alabama, South Carolina, and then for the Republicans, first off, Kansas will probably be safe, probably be about a 25% margin of victory. Jerry Moran won there by 30% back in 2016. Well, it is shifting to the left. Jerry Moran did win by 10% more than Donald Trump did in 2016. I'm assuming he'll probably win by 10% more than Laura Kelly, probably something more like a 6 to 4% margin of victory. So they would essentially just be giving up the governorship and still probably losing a Senate race, which would not be smart. There's another party in another state that I'll talk about later that could potentially do that, although it is much less likely for that to happen. Now for the likely Democratic states, I have none. For the likely Republican states, I have 3: Alaska, Florida, and Ohio. So let's start off with Alaska. Lisa Murkowski, if we go look back at 2016, she won here by a pretty significant margin. She won here by like 16%, 16.3% over Joe Miller. So a fairly large margin of victory, about, like I said, 16%, although the state has shifted to the left by pretty large numbers since 2016. It's going to be 6 years from 2016 by the time it's the Senate, by the time the midterms come. So it'll probably have shifted enough. Also with ranked choice voting, even if she is a popular incumbent, it'll probably be more like a 12% margin of victory. There is the possibility that she does leave the GOP and become a Democrat, in which case I would assume probably a lean margin of victory, maybe likely, maybe 6-7%, although I'm assuming 3 to 5. It really depends on if the Republican voters stick with her or if a lot of that Trump base leaves her for more Trump as candidate. Now for all the lean states, lean Democratic states, Nevada, Arizona, and Georgia are my first 3 lean Democratic states. If we go take a look at Catherine Cortez Masto in Nevada back in 2016, she won here by 2.4%, the same margin as Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton. So I think that she'll probably win by something around there. Probably more likely around 3%. Although, given the fact that it could potentially be a red wave year, she might win by 1.5%. It all really does depend on how the voters approve of Joe Biden, and also a lot of people are talking about how a lot of these Hispanic and Latino voters, particularly in Florida and Texas, but throughout a lot of the nation, had kind of turned on Joe Biden. I don't want to say turn on him because he still won them by large margins, but voted for him by less than they did like previous candidates such as Hillary Clinton. A lot of this is for whatever reason, these Hispanic and Latino voters do like to vote for incumbents. A lot of these states do like to vote for incumbents. Florida likes incumbent senators. A lot of these states do like to reelect their incumbent senators. Ohio. So, Iowa, a lot of these states do. For this demographic group seems to as well. So, I think that was probably just one little fluke. And considering that she is also not a fluke, it was a pattern. And considering that she is the incumbent, she'll probably win by 3.5%. Considering that Nevada does have a very high Hispanic and Latino population. Next up is the state of Arizona. I'm looking for the right map. That's the wrong map. This is the right map. If we go take a look at Arizona, Mark Kelly won here by 2.4%. Actually, what Catherine Cortez Masto won in Nevada by. And considering that he will be an incumbent and that he is a moderate in a state that's shifting to the left, with a GOP in the state that is not a great GOP. They just reelected Kelly Ward probably about a week ago to their chair, so that's obviously not it's not a great thing for their party, as she is a lot like these candidates that they're trying to run in these states, because they like to run Trumpist candidates, even though Trumpist candidates we've already seen don't typically win, which is it's not a great idea. It's a lot like Charlie Brown in the football, I feel, where you just keep on running these candidates and they're going to continue to lose and lose. You're going to continue to throw them in there. But considering that and that he'll be the incumbent as a moderate in a state that's shifting to the left, which their suburbs aren't even liberal yet. Joe Biden still lost their suburbs by 10%. So they're still shifting to the left. There's still a shift to happen. We've already seen part of this, but we're still waiting for the rest of the shift, and once it comes, Arizona will probably not flip back. Next up is the state of Georgia. I labeled this lean Democratic. If we go take a look at the results in Georgia, Raphael Warnock, this is a special election, so his seat will be up in 2022. He won by 2%. A large margin of victory in the state because it's so competitive. But he won by 2%, which is a fairly large margin of victory, as said. And I made a video about how Joe Biden won the state of Georgia. You guys should go check that out. But in it, I discussed that turnout is still, like, white voters are still getting a larger share of the electorate than they are of the population. And considering the fact that there's still work to be done, and that minority voters are going to continue to get larger and larger shares of the population, that minority voters heavily favor the Democratic Party, it's going to continue to shift, and the fact that he's also an incumbent, and that midterm turnout is going to be higher than runoff turnout. I'm assuming he'll probably win by 2.5%, at best 3%, although it'll probably be between 1.5 and 2.5. Although should the Republicans run Doug Collins, it'll probably be more competitive, probably between 0.9 and 1.2. We don't really know though how the public will see Doug Collins and how they will see Raphael Warnock in 2 years' time. Now, for the tilt Republican states, Wisconsin and North Carolina are my two tilt Republican states. Let's go take a look at each. For Wisconsin, we go take a look at, that's 2020, not 2016. If you go take a look at Wisconsin, Ron Johnson won the state by 3.4%. We do have to remember that Trump did win the state of Wisconsin on the same ballot by narrow margins, and that Ron Johnson was the incumbent in what I would say is a red wave year. Actually, just interested in seeing. The Democrats actually gained 2 seats. That's interesting. Oh, Illinois. Okay, New Hampshire. But anyways, it was a red wave year. Maybe not in the Senate, but still, Ron Johnson did win his seat. Did keep his seat in the state of Wisconsin, which is and considering there's such a large margin, I'm honestly considering putting it in the lean column because it could go in the lean column. It's just that he's not necessarily very liked among voters, and he or at least from what I've seen of voters, I haven't found an official approval rating poll from recently. But he also was initially going to object to the election results, but after the Capitol riots, decided not to. So I'm just going to label it tilt red. Also, Joe Biden did win here. It was very narrow, his victory. I'm assuming that Ron Johnson will probably win by the larger, like the higher side of the tilt margins or the lower side of the lean margins. Best case scenario for him is a 2% margin victory. Worst case, honestly, worst case is a Democratic win because Democrats can still win here. We've seen it happen. Joe Biden did it. Tammy Baldwin did it. It's not some sort of crazy thing that Democrats can win in the state of Wisconsin because it's happened. It's just that he is an incumbent who won by pretty large margins. So I'm gonna say it's probably still tilt red. And then the state of North Carolina. I don't know why I'm doing this. It's because I want to. But if we go take a look at North Carolina, no, that's 2020. It's Tom Tillis. Richard Burr won by, what's he won by? Yeah, he won by a pretty large margin. He won by, 5.7%? Which is obviously a very large margin. He is retiring, so he's probably not going to win here, because should he run, I would probably have labeled it likely red. But he's not running, so, I'm going to label it tilt red. It's going to be close, but we have seen, there, I believe, Lieutenant Governor announced that he's going to run with the GOP. I don't remember his name. I think it's Mark Robinson or something like that. I don't remember his name. I am working on an election night eventually. I don't know when it'll get out. It might get out on the weekend. It might take a month. I have no idea. I am working on a lot of things right now. I'm trying to balance them all evenly. But, I think it's Mark Robinson. It's something like that. But if he's already announced, he's relatively popular, I believe. Um, I there was one Democrat, I don't remember her name. She did announce, I think. But I think that the state is probably going to be tilt red. Donald Trump did win it by 1.5%. Um, even in considering the fact that the state is technically shifting to the left. I don't like it's shifted over like the last 20 years, but over like the last 8 years, it hasn't really shifted to the left. Like it probably has like a few percentage points. I'm not actually sure how much Mitt Romney won it by, but I'm gonna assume that it'll still probably be tilt red. Could be lean red. Honestly, should Roy Cooper run, it's probably tilt blue. It's gonna be very competitive, but I'm gonna label it tilt red at the moment. Now there's 2 states left. I'm gonna label one and talk about the other one, and then label. I still don't know what I'm gonna label the other one, but I'm gonna label the first state. And that's the state of Pennsylvania. I'm gonna label it tilt blue. Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman has announced that he's gonna run. Incumbent Pat Toomey has announced that he will not run. He's retiring. And given that Joe Biden did win the state by 1.2%, he actually got it up to 50%. That's very interesting. But given that he did win it by 1.2%, I'm gonna label it tilt blue. There's a decent chance that it is a red wave year, and there's a decent chance that the Republicans do keep the state of Pennsylvania. That would not be out of question at all. It could definitely happen, but I think that Pennsylvania will probably flip for the Democrats. Like I said, Republicans could win here. It wouldn't be insane if they were to. I think the Democrats will probably win by 0.6 ish, something around there, a very narrow margin. But they'll barely win. I can't speak today. Anyways, the state of New Hampshire. I'm not even sure what I'm gonna label this. It could be quite competitive. Over here I have a poll of Chris Nuno's opinion. This is a very old poll, but it just does show the public's opinion of Chris Nuno. He is fairly popular. His approval rating did go down throughout 2019, but he was still at a like plus 29% approval rating, which is a very high approval rating, especially when you are the Republican governor of a state that is a swing state, yes, but it's a liberal state. It's a liberal swing state. I'll say that much. It's a lot like, I'm trying to think of a good example. It's like Ohio is a conservative swing state. Ohio's a swing state, yet it's a conservative one. Minnesota's a swing state, yet it's a liberal one. I could go on. But he is very liked in the state, and he won. I don't think I have the gubernatorial results anywhere. Sorry about that. But he did win by, I believe, like plus 30%, which is obviously a very strong showing in the state of New Hampshire, especially for a Republican. As I think the last time the state went red was like 2004. Might have been 2000. I'm pretty sure that it went red 2000. Last time it might have gone red, it might have been 2004. Not sure, but or at least on the presidential level. But this state is going to be very difficult. Maggie Hassan barely won it back in 2016. Although to be fair, she was not the incumbent, and she will have the incumbency factor on her side this time. I honestly am I'm not quite sure, but I ultimately have decided I'm going to label it tilt blue. It's going to be very close, but I have decided to label it tilt blue. I think that, and this is for a few reasons. First off, and I know we hear this all the time, but, like, we do hear this all the time, so I'm sorry, but I'm just going to say it again. Being a governor is not the same as being a senator, and you're not gonna win a Senate race just because you're a governor. I don't necessarily know that's true. I think that Roy Cooper could win a Senate race in North Carolina. I think that Ron DeSantis could win a Senate race in Florida. Although I don't know necessarily that he would run in the state of Florida. I actually haven't talked about Florida, so I'm gonna do that in a second. But I think that, first off, that's one thing, although I don't necessarily know that's true all the time. But then second, like Doug Ducey could probably win in Arizona if he decided that he was going to run. And second, New Hampshire elects, not only New Hampshire, these northeastern states, and a lot of these liberal states, Maryland, Massachusetts, Vermont, these are 3 of the most liberal states in the nation. New Hampshire, they all have Republican governors that they elect by pretty large margins. Moderate Republicans, who honestly could all probably be Democrats. They would be, they would be, they could honestly still be Democrats, or probably be known more like Joe Manchin as like conservative Democrats. But they still could be Democrats. But they elect a lot of these Republican governors for their because they like to have Republican governors. I have no idea why they like to have Republican governors, but they do. Like Vermont, New Hampshire, Maryland, Massachusetts. These states like to have Republican governors, even though they're Democratic states. So I don't think though that Vermont would elect Phil Scott. I don't think that Maryland would elect Larry Hogan. I don't think that Massachusetts would elect Charlie Baker. I think they would elect them to be their senators. I don't think that they would elect them to be, I think they would elect them to be their governors, not their senators. Maybe Phil Scott in Vermont, but I highly doubt it. But that's my last thing. Just because they're going to elect them to be our senator or to be their governor, they're not going to elect them necessarily to be their senator. I think that a lot of these voters like to have Republican governors, but would only elect you as a Republican governor. They would not elect them as Republican senators. It'll be incredibly close. I don't see it being decided by more than a couple thousand votes. But that is my final prediction. Or not my final prediction, my final prediction until February 15th, which is like 2 weeks from now, in the state of New Hampshire. I did not talk about Florida, so I'm going to talk about that briefly. There are talks about Marco Rubio getting, did I talk about Florida? I don't think I did. I've had to record this like multiple times, so it's all kind of just like mixing into one. They're all kind of like blending together. Anyways, there have been that was weird. There have been talks about Marco Rubio, getting primaried by, Matt Gaetz, sort of, but the primary thing that I've heard is, that's weird, primary thing. The primary thing I've heard is him getting primaried by Ivanka Trump. If he were to get primaried by Ivanka Trump, probably lean to tilt red, although it could honestly be a tilt Democratic state if someone like Val Demings were to run, or I forgot her name. She's a congresswoman from, I believe, like the Orlando area. First name is Stephanie. I don't remember her last name. I do remember looking through Florida's. Actually, I can just go look at it right here. Florida's House races and seeing her. She is from, I believe, that district. Yeah, Stephanie Murphy. That was her name. She could win, honestly. So could Val Demings. But I see Marco Rubio maybe getting primary, but I still see it probably being a lean to tilt Republican state. But for now, we're going to label it likely because, right now, Marco Rubio still hasn't gotten primaried, and we don't really know what's going to happen there. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Stay tuned for my next video, and I will see you guys there. Bye.